Hey everybody, my name is Dennis Dalmzalski, and I am the author of Disturbers Row. This book, which of course you can buy right here on Amazon, and if you do, I think you're going to laugh like crazy, and especially if you grew up Catholic in the 1950s, 60s, or 70s, you will relate to it. A little about me: I've been a newspaper reporter, author, publisher, editor, past 40 years or so. Got my start at a place called the City News Bureau of Chicago, which is a wonderful training ground for reporters. Grew up in the city of Chicago, spent the first half of my life in the city of Chicago, actually in the same house. Got married and then moved upstairs from my parents, as it did a lot of people in that type of working class blue collar neighborhood. Disturbers Row is really about two things. It's one that's a mostly true story, so I'm going to let you know that. So it's almost a memoir, but there's a few embellishments in there. So it's about two things: the crazy, abusive, and authority-loving nuns that we had as children in grammar school, and two, the fun and the freedom that we had as kids to be kids, to roam our neighborhoods at will, no parental adult interference. And I think that is a key element of the book, because I think it is a time that is totally and completely past. I'm guessing that kids no longer have that freedom. We did everything by ourselves. Again, no parents wanted, welcome, or even interested. They didn't want to have to deal with it. So let's get to Disturbers Row, this book. This is about basically, as I said before, crazy and abusive nuns in school that I certainly went to, Our Lady of Grace School in the city of Chicago, a neighborhood called Logan Square, blue collar working class neighborhood. I call these nuns abusive, and they really were. Not all of them, but some of them. They were physically beating up children in first grade. These are 6-year-olds, 7-year-olds. They're physically beating them, shooting rubber bands at them, throwing erasers at them, slapping them, pulling their ears, putting clothespins on their noses and their ears. That's what they did. And how we, as children, dealt with it. How did we fight back? The Disturbers are 5 boys: me, Gary, Richard, Dave, and Bob, who in 7th grade were 12 and 13 years old at this point in time. How we basically rebelled against this crazy, mad, and insane authority, and it really was insane authority. They wanted everybody to conform with every single rule, blah blah blah, and they would just brook no non-adherence to that. So the other main character in this story is Sister Mary Zita. She was a nun, and well past her prime. She never should have been in a classroom at that point in time. She was maybe in her 60s, possibly 70s. As I said, she could not control a classroom. And so she had this bizarre idea that she could shame kids, 12 and 13-year-olds, into conformist behavior. So what happened is, in the beginning of the year, the 5 of us were scattered throughout the classroom, and by we caused trouble, talked, did that, this, and the other thing. So she put us all together in the back row of the classroom and called us Disturbers. And she called our row Disturbers Row. As again, Sister Mary Zita was really kind of goofy. Never should have been in a classroom. She was old. She didn't really walk. She shuffled. Her skin was wrinkled and scaly. Her breath truly smelled like a rotten potato. She really didn't have really much strength, but she did always hit us, and it never really hurt, but she did scratch a lot. So it's about, and Sister Zita used goofy terms like, "You're as bold as brass and even bolder." She would call people, "You think you're Mr. Big Stuff, don't you?" Or, you, mister, are the sneakiest of the sneaky." And of course, when you're a kid, again, 12 and 13 years old, hearing this, it's so goofy, all you can do is laugh. Anyway, we caused trouble pretty much every day of that school year. Got beaten, I'm going to say, a couple of times a week easily, by not just Sister Zita, but by the other crazed, authority-loving nuns who wanted everybody to conform to their rules. And that's it. So I hope that you'll by Disturbers Row. I think most people will be able to relate to it because everywhere I go and I tell people, yeah, I grew up Catholic, and invariably those who did grow up Catholic of my generation, previous and a little later, they always have stories about these crazy nuns. And I know a lot of non-Catholics who didn't grow up Catholic think, nah, this can't be. Well, and let me tell you, all these stories are true. As again, most of the things in the book that I write about really happened.